Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel Vortigaunt Gaming. Let's run some Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft. Today we will be watching back a Dawn of the Infinite Galakrond's Fall level 21 that I ran as an Arcane Mage. The weekly affixes are Fortified, Incorporeal, and Sanguine. I will be doing my best to give an overtalk of the dungeon run. If you are into that kind of content, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So I would say this run is a pretty good example of how you don't need to be flawless to time a dungeon, even if you are running a dungeon at a level as high as, let's say, a level 21. You're going to be seeing a lot of mistakes in this dungeon, a lot of deaths, but the thing is that the timer here is pretty forgiving, and my teammates are pretty smart and found ways to mitigate the amount of, I would say, damage caused by those deaths. The thing is, when you die a lot in this dungeon, there's the the 5-second death timer, or the 5-second death penalty, I should say. But there's also the amount of time you have to spend like running back to the action. For example, right here, me dying right here, that costs 5 seconds off the timer. But also, I have to spend, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 seconds to run back here so I can actually get in range and do some damage to these guys. And through those 10 seconds, I'm not doing any damage to these guys whatsoever, so it means it takes it that much longer to kill those ads right there. Right? But luckily, our deaths are going to happen, mostly happen in certain locations where we can kind of mitigate that run back time. We don't have to worry about wasting time running back to the action, so to speak. I'll talk about it more when we get there, but for now, we'll just take care of these ads right here and then head on to the first boss of the dungeon. You'll notice that we use Lust on the first pull of the dungeon. Also, I think I die here in maybe like the next 5 to 10 seconds. But yeah, anyway, we use Lust on the first pull of the dungeon, so we won't have it up for boss 1. It doesn't matter too much since this is a Fortified week, so it's the ads that are buffed, in this case, the trash mobs, and it's not the bosses. Also, I seem to have kind of a slow reaction time. I don't know what's going on with me in this particular one, but I do get I do get more in the groove, I think, as the run goes on. Also, I think I died right before the trash mobs were taken down, so me running back, maybe not the best thing to do. I maybe could have waited for, let's say, the Evoker or the Paladin to res me there, and I can eat my food there, but also there's the risk of them pulling the boss before I can eat my food and get the buff back on. But anyway, we are going into the first boss, this time with the food buff since I had time to eat it. This boss is pretty straightforward. It does this thing where he puts the circles around every player, and then after a couple seconds he drops a pool of sand. Basically, you just want to drop those around the edge of the room. Then he does the slam attack, Eon Shatter, where he slams, he slams like a ring on the ground. It shoots out those floating balls. You need to sidestep those and then jump into that small ring, which is a individual soak. Usually, I think the tank takes care of that, so we're not worried about that too much. What we are worried about, though, is these Incorporeal Affixes. I always set a focus on, or I always try to set a focus on the target that I want to do damage to, so that way when those Incorporeal Affixes or those Incorporeal ads come out, I can swap over to them, see if I can polymorph one of them. Polymorph will handle it. You can't actually do damage to those ads, so you can't break the polymorph. So once you polymorph one of them, you're basically done. You can go swap back to whatever target you want to do damage to. And that's pretty much that affix in a nutshell. The other affix is Sanguine, which isn't really too big of a deal unless you're in like a narrow hallway. Okay. The other thing I should mention is that you can use Altered Time to drop these pools if you want. Basically, as the pool mechanic is happening, you hit Altered Time. It's that stopwatch looking icon on my toolbar, and then you run over to the side of the room. Once the pool drops, you hit Alter Time again. That will take you back to where you first hit Alter Time. It's basically like a rewind mechanism, kind of like I don't know if you've played Overwatch, but like Tracer's ability where she can rewind through time. But anyway, we're not really going to need it for the rest of this boss fight, since this boss is going down, and we're going to go ahead and give ourselves a slash cheer and move on to the next part of the dungeon. So the cool thing about this dungeon is that a lot of it is outside, and what I mean by outside is that you can mount up. And so that's what I'm going to do right here. I think I also repair my gear. It's always useful to have a repair mount, especially if you're running higher level Mythic Plus dungeons. This room of ads, or this room of trash mobs, I should say, is maybe the part of this dungeon that I like the least. There's a lot of, you see all these swirlies happening every once in a while all over the ground. You need to sidestep those. Those are coming from the middle of the room, I believe. And you also have to kill quite a few of these ads to spawn the boss. Do I think I almost die here. That health potion was pretty clutch, I have to say. Anyway, there's not too much to say about these ads, except for, I mean, other than sidestep stuff, these whatchamacallit, I can't even read the names. I feel like the nameplates are too small. But anyway, those ads that cast Enervate, they have the they kind of look like boss number 2 from the Underrot. Yeah, those leeches. There we go. Finally got close enough to the ad to read it. I also got close enough to hit Dragon's Breath. That's the icon on my toolbar that has a dragon on it. That's a good AoE stun. And the reason why I point that out is that that's a good way to stun those leeches out of casting Enervate. Since I only have one kick, and usually what happens is, well, our tank will pull more than one of those leeches. I only have my kick for one of those Enervate, and then the other one, you know, some why my teammates aren't kicking the other Enervate. So I think to myself, well, hey, I have Dragon's Breath. I can hit Dragon's Breath and take care of that Enervate that's about to go off. Since the thing is, if the Enervate does, or if the leech gets through the cast of Enervate, it will start attacking someone with a beam, and then you have to spell steal to remove a shield, and then you can interrupt or you can kick the leech out of the Enervate beam. And you know, that's a bit of a hassle, so I just like to kind of do things beforehand, kind of, you know, interrupt it, kind of kick it out of Enervate before it gets to that point. It just makes things a whole lot easier for this part of the dungeon. Luckily, I think we are almost done with clearing the trash mobs in this room. See that a couple of our teammates are dying here. I maybe could have been better with using Mass Barrier. Mass Barrier is basically an ability I have which gives everyone a shield, kind of like the Arcane shield that Arcane Mages have that I put on myself every, you know, half minute or so. But Mass Barrier has a cooldown of like 2 or 3 minutes, so, you know, I have to be watchful of where I use that one. Usually I like to use it on mechanics where I know there's going to be a lot of AoE damage coming out, and I think it would help give, you know, my teammates sustain to get through that AoE damage, make life easier for the healer. I don't think we're going to have that for a while though, since this boss is actually no, that's not true. This boss does have a AoE damage ability, technically speaking, but this boss is also pretty straightforward. There's not much to say about it. It's really a matter of, do you understand geometry and I guess kinematics well enough to dodge or to sidestep some of the mechanics here. So anyway, I think we are going to have Lust back up during this fight, so that's why I'm holding off on not using my major cooldowns. For those of you who don't play Arcane Mage's rotation is basically 2 phases. There's the the burn phase and the conserve phase. The burn phase is basically you put Radiant Spark on a target, cast 5 spells on that target, one of them being an Arcane Barrage. As the barrage is traveling to the target, you also apply Touch the Magi to the target. The idea is that Radiant Spark and Touch of the Magi both apply burn windows, or both give you burn windows to do as much damage to the target as you can. And then once the burn phase is over, which Touch the Magi wears off, you go into the conserve phase, which is basically use your spells in such a way that you have enough mana for the next burn phase. You're going to see a burn phase coming up right here. Lust is off cooldown, so we're going to go ahead and pop it. There's also that ring mechanic where the ring appears on someone and then it spreads out radially from whoever it was on. That is the AoE effect I was talking about. That's a good place to use Mass Barrier. Unluckily, I don't have it for that one, but luckily our healer's good enough to deal with it. And then this mechanic with the orbs, you'll notice that I'm running counterclockwise so I can get behind the orbs as they fly outward from the boss. And so that way I don't really have to worry about the orbs running into me. I think we might have to do the orb mechanic one more time. I'm not sure. Yeah, so this is going to be the last time we do it, I think, and then after this we can basically give ourselves a slash cheer and head on to the next part of the dungeon.
We need champions. The pathway is opened.
Alright, so on this part of the dungeon, typically the strategy here is to have everyone line up here on the right hand side and all run together. I think one of the demon hunters was a bit too slow on getting over, so he ended up shadow pulling this dragon. Typically you don't want to pull this dragon. You want to avoid it so you can get to the next part of the dungeon, which is the, I guess the ice cave we can call it.
I have tracked the infinites to a place.
Unluckily, since we pulled the dragon, some of us couldn't make it through this portal that I'm standing near, so someone called for our death. I think that was, yeah, the evoker called for a death. The lucky thing here is that at least one player made it to the ice cave, and the ice cave is actually the next respawn point. So the plan here is that we're going to stay dead until our teammate gives us the signal that it's okay to respawn or to release our spirit, and our spirit will end up being released in this ice cave right here, so we don't have to worry about the dragon anymore. And this doing this and not rezzing before someone gets into the ice cave, ideally that would save a lot more time. Unluckily, one of our demon hunters did release before someone made it here to the next respawn point, so he did have to die again, so it did cut out 5 more seconds. It did give us another 5-second penalty on the timer, but I think him having to run back over here or having to dodge the dragon and run back over here would have cost more than 5 seconds, so I think ultimately it was a time save on his part. It wasn't the best time save we could have gotten, but it was good enough for what we need on this pull. Anyway, here we are going into the trash mobs in this ice cave. This Drake that we're focusing down right now actually has a buff on itself, which makes it do AoE damage over time. And it is a fortified week, so pulling more than one of these dragons at a time would be a pretty bold move. And if I recall correctly, our tank does exactly that kind of bold move in a few seconds here. And you see we're going to have a little bit of trouble getting through that pull that he does. So here's the first dragon that gets pulled, and then someone shadow pulled the second dragon, and Our Demon Hunter is already dead. I see if I can use Mass Barrier to kind of salvage this pull a little bit, but that AoE damage is coming out pretty strong. And I'm pretty sure there's a wipe here. There's like a full wipe. Yeah, so the tank goes down. And here, basically, the strategy would be to kite these enemies around so that you don't die. The issue is that they do have the AoE buff on themselves. Also, the Incorporeal is coming out. So just wiping here and starting over, I think would be, yeah, the better thing to do here. The other thing is that I do have the personalized lust talent. I have the self-lust talent, which basically means if I have the temporal displacement debuff or the bloodlust debuff that you see in like near my top right corner, which says I can't benefit from the effects of bloodlust or anything, you know, similar. That is a lie. I can indeed benefit from the effects of bloodlust, but only myself, only I can benefit in this group. And so I pop Bloodlust here. I pop Time Warp, I should say, since I am a mage. I pop it on myself so I can do a fair bit more damage. It's basically a haste debuff, which allows me to do more damage, ultimately. So that I can burn one of these dragons down as quickly as I can, so we only have to deal with one of those AoE buffs on the dragons instead of, you know, both of them. Also, it looks like my teammates are on top of the Incorporeal being. And I guess I die here as well. But it's not that big of a deal. Since we did get that dragon down that I wanted to get down, it should be easier for my teammates to deal with the AoE from only one dragon instead of two. And, you know, I don't need to necessarily run down there quickly this time. It's only one ad. They should be able to handle it. It's a level 21. You know, I've trusted my teammates to know what they're doing. And that's the thing about running dungeons this high. You kind of have to trust your teammates, you know, to know what they're doing and just make sure you do what you're supposed to do, I guess. Anyway, going into this boss without hero, without lust or anything like that is it's bold. It is only a fortified week, so it's not as bad as it could be, but I think we did have problems with phase 2 of this boss. This is phase 1. Phase 1 is not so bad. There's basically this ball that gets placed on you. You want to transfer that over to the tank so that the tank can destroy the ball by standing in this frontal right here, Blight's Reclamation. And that will destroy that ball that's appears above some of the players' heads. On this one, the timing is that if you get the ball and you immediately transfer it over to the tank, there's not enough time on the ball debuff for the tank to hold on to it until the frontal comes out. Because the thing is that if the debuff expires on that ball, it will mind control who's ever you know, has the ball on top of their head right there. And if you try to give it to the tank too early, that debuff will run out and actually mind control the tank. And you know, that will almost surely be a wipe. So typically what a lot of our groups, or a lot of the groups that I run it with, will transfer it to like an intermediate person. And that intermediate player will do that whole tornado phase and then give it to the tank after the tornado phase. Unluckily here we did wipe here since the spawns of the Incorporeal beings were kind of fishy there. They spawned at, I would say there was a good like 50 yards between those Incorporeals. I got one. I think I got the one nearest to me, but the other one was just way too far away. I couldn't get into range quick enough to kick the cast coming out of that Incorporeal being. That is one thing that I do sometimes. If I'm not quick enough to polymorph them, I'll cast, or I'll kick the cast so that their cast resets, and then it gives me more time to do polymorph before the Incorporeal beings get their cast off, since that cast does reduce the amount of damage and healing that whoever gets the debuff does, right? I think some classes can actually mind control the Incorporeal beings so that that debuff gets put on the trash mobs and bosses instead. But I don't think we have a class that can do that, so we're going to have to deal with CCing them somehow with either polymorph or some kind of trap or something. Anyway, we will have Lust for this pull this time around. And so it looks like one of our teammates is called for Lust on phase 2. We're going to go ahead and transfer the ball over to the tank right here. And here comes phase 2. Popping Lust on phase 2 is so that we don't have to deal with the awkward timings of that ball mechanic, that ball in frontal cone mechanic. And this boss will transition to phase 3 at, I believe, 50% health, if I remember right. Right? Here's a burn. This burn should be good enough to take it down to, what is it, 50% health? I think it's going to phase right here, right? Yeah, here it goes. Also, after this burn, we'll go ahead and hit Shifting Power to get some of our cooldowns back. Shifting Power is that icon on my toolbar that says 50 seconds with the cooldown timer on it. It's right next to Radiant Spark, which I just clicked. And Shifting Power lowers the amount of time left on your cooldowns by, I think, like 12 seconds. So it's a good way to get, you know, your rotation cooldowns back up and running when you're playing Arcane Mage. Alright, so for this part of the boss fight phase 3, we've got 2 dragons instead of 1. I'm not sure on the timing of the Blight Reclamation frontal, but I do know that this Necrofrost comes out every once in a while, so you need to break someone out of this. Also, one of the dragons likes to do a frontal fire breath, and so right there I used one of my blinks to dodge that since I was still in the Necrofrost, but that is something you do have to watch out for in this phase of the boss fight. Anyway, my teammates are on top of the Incorporeal ads that have come out, so I don't need to worry about theirs. I just need to worry about taking this boss down, giving myself a slash cheer, and heading on to the last part of the dungeon.
We face enemies above and below.
Nostormo! Alexstrasza! Everyone! The Infinites are here, and we have to stop them! They wanna... Oh, there's no time to explain.
Very well, little dragon. My friends, with me!
If Iridikron came here with the Infinites...
So there is a little bit of roleplay in this part of the dungeon. Luckily, it doesn't take as much time as maybe some other dungeons this season. So we can walk into this hallway, start killing stuff. We do need a little bit more percentage towards our trash clear.
For the future of
And at this part, my teammates wanted to do a stealth skip later, since we are going to reach that 100% before clearing all of the ads in this hallway. So there is one pack of ads that it would probably be better to stealth skip. We are starting to run a little bit low on time, though. We do only have about 8 minutes left in the dungeon. And so maybe stealth skipping the ads that show up later might not be the best idea. There is a risk involved with stealth skipping those ads, since if you stealth skip those ads, you go into the boss fight, you immediately wipe. When you come back, when you respawn and walk back, you might not have your stealth potions ready to do the stealth skip again. And I think one of the players in the group actually forgot to pick up some stealth potions before starting this run, so there's going to be a little bit of time wasted here with one guy trying to trade some of the invisible potions over to the other player who needs it, I think. But other than that, these ads in this hallway aren't really, like, these are ads we've kind of already seen before within this dungeon, so it's not, there's nothing new to deal with here, I would say. The only thing to worry about is not hitting anything like, I don't know, Ice Nova and freezing ads inside any of these blood pools so they accidentally heal back up to full. Right? That's just the one thing you need to watch out for when running dungeons on a Sanguine week. Alright, so this is the pack of ads that we were planning on skipping, but it looks like, well, our tank, I think that's our tank. Yeah, our tank said it's fine to pull them. We have enough time. We have 6 minutes left. This is a choosing that the tank made, but it is, I would say, the less risky one, since, you know, if we wipe on the boss, we don't have to worry about doing a stealth skip at these ads anymore. We can kind of just walk through this hallway back to the boss room. Right. Also, these ads I don't think were too big of a deal. Let's say we started taking care of these ads at around 6 minutes, and then they die at around 5 minutes 20 seconds, so 40 seconds. Maybe it could have been quicker, but we do have to deal with this roleplay coming in here anyway. Maybe one of the players could have walked in here earlier while we were doing those, we were taking care of that trash mob, so that there was less time in between taking down the trash mob and going into this boss fight right here. Alright, so this boss fight, the first mechanic is, well, it looks like he's going to slam on that demon hunter right there. So you want to stand in that big dome around Chromie, and then everyone wants to come here and soak. The tank wants to soak in the front circle, and then everyone else wants to soak in this one. This is actually a great mechanic to have mass barrier ready to go on. That soak mechanic does do quite a bit of AoE damage, and so mass barrier mitigates some of that damage coming out. Also, this is a good spot to use cooldowns here. You do want to break this shield quickly, since every time new spikes pop up around him and start, you know, strailing out from him, he does do AoE damage. Also, I think our demon hunter gets hit by the spikes. Yeah, I don't think there's really anything I could have done to stop him from getting hit by those spikes. One thing I could have done better maybe is time my cooldowns so they matched up with the boss getting the shield, since I feel like a lot of the damage from my major cooldowns went into the boss before he put the shield up, so I didn't actually do that much damage to the shield, and so it stayed alive for a bit longer than I wanted to. I do adjust my play a little bit so that I line my cooldowns up better with the next shield coming out. And I think I do have Arcane Surge, which is kind of part of my major rotation. And I do think I have that for the next shield coming out. And we'll go ahead and polymorph that Incorporeal ad. We'll go ahead and soak this. I don't have mass barrier for the soak, so my teammates are on their own. I do have some personal abilities that I can use. I could use Altered Time. I could use, I think it's called Ice Cold now. which mitigates a lot of damage coming out. And you'll see here I lined up my cooldown usage to match up better with the shield, so it's going to be a lot quicker to get this shield down and stop this Earth Surge cast. And then after the cast is done, we can go ahead and hit Shifting Power to get some of our cooldowns back. And then he's going to do his Frontal Cone, which also spawns 2 adds. I run in the other direction from my other teammates, so this is not ideal. Ideally, you want the adds to spawn together. Also, this add is attacking me, so I need to run away, punch me to death or anything. And you might notice that we haven't really been doing damage to the boss, and the thing is, when we attack the boss, it doesn't really take out much of its health, but what it does is it increases its energy meter. And you'll see that the energy meter of the boss is almost at 100. And once it hits 100, it goes into the last phase, which is basically a DPS plus time check. We need to do as much damage to the boss as we can and not die to stuff. Getting into this dome helps. We do have Lust available, so I pop it. And basically we want to get the energy down to 0 before the Cataclysmic Obliteration cast goes off, but luckily we have more than enough DPS to do it, and that's going to about do it for Dawn of the Infinite Galakrond's Fall, level 21. Give ourselves a / cheer. Thank everyone for a relatively clean run, even though we had 25 deaths, and even congratulate everyone for beating the timer. And as always, we are an Arcane Mage, so we'll do a kindness and give everyone a portal back to the main hub of the expansion. And that's going to about do it for this run, so if you liked what you saw here, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to see me run any other dungeons in Dragonflight Mythic Plus Season 3, let me know in a comment down below which dungeon you would like to see me run, and I'll do my best to film a playthrough of it. Anyway, that's going to about do it for me here, so I hope you all had fun watching, and I will see you all later.